In a small village called Wuling, in the province of Anhui, China, there was a boy whose daily job was to count cows. Not dream about cars, not study engineering, count cows, and keep the accounts for his grandfather, who sold cattle at the local market. That boy's name was Li Bin, and one day, he would build a car so advanced that Porsche would sign a deal just to license his technology. But the road from that village to that moment would pass through bankruptcy, humiliation, and a moment when the entire world declared him finished. Li Bin was born on June 22, 1974, in one of the poorest corners of rural China. His parents worked far away and could not raise him themselves, so he grew up with his maternal grandparents, what the Chinese call a left-behind child. No connections, no privilege, no safety net. His parents began saving for his college education when he was 7 years old. 7. As a teenager, he worked part-time jobs to send money home, but poverty could not stop what was inside this boy. Li Bin had a mind that never stopped moving. He defied his family's expectations, demanded to attend high school when others around him did not, and became the top liberal arts scholar in his entire county. That score earned him something almost impossible for a child from a cattle farming village in Anhui, a place at Peking University, the most prestigious university in all of China. At Peking University, he enrolled in sociology, but that wasn't enough for Li Bin. He taught himself law. He taught himself computer programming. He became the only liberal arts student in his class, in his entire year, to earn a national certificate as a computer systems analyst. While still a student, juggling coursework and part-time jobs, he was already building a company in his mind. In 1996, before he even graduated, he launched his first startup. His classmates were polishing their resumes. Li Bin was already an entrepreneur, and the journey that would eventually shake the global car industry, the journey that would take this boy from counting cows to building the most technologically advanced sedan on earth, had quietly, with no applause, already begun. Before this story goes any further, subscribe to the channel right now and hit the bell, because what happens next to Li Bin is something no business school has ever put in a textbook, and you are not going to want to miss a single part of it. Li Bin graduated from Peking University and immediately did what every ambitious young entrepreneur in late 1990s China was doing. He threw himself into the internet boom. In 1997, he co-founded a company called Qiwen Shui, one of China's very first e-commerce platforms, a business that would later evolve into Dangdang, often called the Amazon of China. He left after a year. He already had a bigger idea. In the year 2000, he founded Bitauto, a platform dedicated entirely to the automotive industry. Marketing, advertising, consumer information, car reviews, price comparisons. At a time when Chinese car buyers had almost nothing to guide them, Bitauto built the infrastructure of knowledge that the market was missing, but building it nearly destroyed him. In 2001, just 1 year after launch, the dot-com bubble burst. Investment evaporated overnight. The funding gap at Bitauto reached 4 million yuan. His team shrank to 7 or 8 people. Li Bin made a decision that defined everything about who he was. He took out personal loans to buy back his investors' shares. He was now the sole owner of a nearly bankrupt company. He moved the office to a residential building, no elevator, to cut costs. Every morning, he took an hour-long bus ride to work with 10 yuan in his pocket. 10 yuan, that was all he had. Most people would have quit. Li Bin didn't. He rebuilt Bitauto piece by piece, writing software for automakers, selling internet marketing services, knocking on doors of manufacturers who barely had websites yet. Slowly, the company came back. By 2010, Bitauto was listed on the New York Stock Exchange. The boy who rode buses with 10 yuan in his pocket was ringing the bell on Wall Street. The company crossed $1 billion in value. Li Bin was celebrated across China as one of the great internet entrepreneurs of his generation. He stayed at Bitauto for 13 years, building it into the dominant automotive internet company in the country. Then, in 2013, he sold it. He had money, reputation, and the respect of every serious investor in China. He could have retired. He was 39 years old. Instead, he started making calls. He had seen something in the car industry, something nobody else was ready to bet on yet. And Li Bin, the boy who had never had anything handed to him, was about to put everything he had on the table one more time. In November 2014, Li Bin founded NIO. The name in Chinese, Wailai, means blue sky coming. He had a vision that was almost reckless in its ambition. Build a premium electric vehicle brand that could compete directly with Tesla, Mercedes, and BMW in China from scratch with Chinese engineering. At a time when the global automotive establishment still laughed at the idea of a Chinese luxury car, he invested his entire personal fortune into the company, $150 million. Everything he had earned from Bitauto, every yuan. He also persuaded a remarkable list of investors to back him: Tencent, Baidu, Hillhouse Capital, Sequoia, Lenovo. And in one of the more remarkable stories of the era, he actually talked the founder of Xiaomi, Lei Jun, who was at the time planning to build his own electric car, into investing in NIO instead of competing against it. That is the kind of persuasion that cannot be taught. But Li Bin understood something about the car business that most tech entrepreneurs miss. You cannot enter the automotive world with a sensible family car and expect anyone to pay attention. You need to make a statement so loud that even the people who want to ignore you cannot. So he built a supercar. The car was called the EP9. Revealed in London in November 2016, not Shanghai, not Beijing, London, it carried 4 individual electric motors, one at each wheel, producing a combined 1,341 horsepower. It was built on a carbon fiber monocoque chassis. 6 were built. They were sold exclusively to NIO's own investors for £2.5 million each. This was not a commercial product. It was a declaration of intent. In May 2017, NIO took the EP9 to the Nürburgring Nordschleife, the most punishing racetrack on Earth. 13 kilometers of blind corners and elevation changes through the forests of Germany. The place where the entire automotive world comes to prove its engineering is real. The EP9 went around in 6 minutes and 45.9 seconds. A new electric vehicle world record. A Chinese car from a company that had existed for less than 3 years had just become the fastest electric vehicle ever to lap the green hell. The world was watching. But what came next would test Li Bin in ways that no lap record could prepare him for. NIO went public on the New York Stock Exchange in September 2018. Li Bin stood at the podium and rang the bell. The company raised $1.73 billion. Analysts were cautiously optimistic. The brand had momentum. The lineup was growing. The ES8, a 7-seat premium electric SUV, was already in customers' hands. A second model, the ES6, was on the way. Then 2019 arrived. And in the space of a few months, everything that could go wrong did. The Chinese government cut electric vehicle subsidies sharply and suddenly. NIO was forced to issue a costly recall of its early vehicles over a battery fire risk. The combination was catastrophic. Cash was burning at a rate that shocked even investors who had expected losses. In the second quarter of 2019 alone, NIO reported a net loss of 3.285 billion yuan. In a single quarter, the stock price collapsed more than 76% from its IPO price. At its lowest point, the share price nearly touched $1. The delisting threshold, $1 below that line, and the New York Stock Exchange could have removed NIO entirely. Executives began leaving. The CFO resigned, leaving the finance department without a leader for 18 days. Senior vice presidents followed. In one now famous internal meeting, Li Bin stood in front of more than 100 senior and mid-level executives and asked a simple question: how many of you have bought a NIO car? 20 to 30% of the room raised their hands. The people running the company The people whose job it was to sell the vision did not believe in the product enough to own one. The media delivered its verdict with the kind of cruelty that only financial press can muster. In China, newspapers called Li Bin the most miserable man of 2019. International analysts wrote NIO's obituary. Comparisons to Li Ico, the Chinese tech giant that had tried to build cars and collapsed spectacularly, appeared everywhere. NIO, the consensus said, was a cautionary tale. A Chinese company that had tried to run before it could walk, in an industry that destroys companies with far more experience and far more money. Li Bin read the headlines. He watched the executives leave. He looked at the hands in that conference room, and then he kept going. What Li Bin did next was not glamorous. There were no announcements, no press conferences, no triumphant speeches. He went on the road, quietly, exhaustively, and knocked on every door he could find. He needed capital. He needed it urgently. And he needed investors who understood that what NIO had built was not a failure. It was a company in a storm, and storms end. He was rejected dozens of times. The same investors who had cheered NIO's IPO 18 months earlier now declined his calls or delivered polite refusals. The market had turned. The mood had turned. Nobody wanted to put money into a Chinese electric vehicle company that was burning billions and had missed every delivery target. But one door opened, and it was not a bank. It was not a private equity fund. It was not a tech billionaire. It was a city, Hefei, the capital of Anhui province. The same province where Li Bin had been born, the same region where his grandparents had raised him, where he had learned to count cows and keep accounts as a small boy. In April 2020, the Hefei municipal government made a decision that shocked China's business world. Through a series of investment funds, the city injected more than 10 billion yuan into NIO, over $1 billion. In return, NIO committed to moving its China headquarters from Shanghai to Hefei. The boy from Anhui was coming home and bringing a billion-dollar company with him. The deal saved NIO. But what happened alongside the rescue is the part of this story that no business school can teach. While Li Bin was fighting to survive, NIO's customers, the ordinary people who had bought the cars, began organizing spontaneously. On social media, NIO owners shared their vehicles, recommended the brand to friends and family, promoted the company without being asked and without being paid. Some of them proposed actual crowdfunding campaigns to donate money directly to NIO, not as an investment, as a gesture of loyalty. These were not shareholders protecting an asset. These were people who loved their cars so much they could not imagine the brand disappearing. No car company in the history of the automobile has ever inspired that kind of response from the people who bought its products. Not Toyota, not Mercedes, not Tesla. NIO had built something that went beyond transportation. A community held together by a belief in what the company represented. And with the Hefei investment secured and that community standing behind it, the company that the world had declared finished began, slowly, impossibly, and against every prediction, to come back. The comeback was built methodically, year by year, product by product. NIO launched model after model. The ET7 flagship sedan, the ET5 midsize sedan, the EC7 Coupe SUV, each one more refined than the last. Deliveries climbed from 43,000 vehicles in 2020 to over 220,000 in 2024. The brand expanded into Europe, Norway, Germany, the Netherlands, Denmark, Sweden, bringing with it a technology that no other car company on Earth had managed to deploy at scale: battery swapping. The idea sounds almost too simple. Instead of waiting 45 minutes to charge your car, you drive into a NIO power swap station. A machine removes your depleted battery pack and replaces it with a fully charged one in under 3 minutes. Faster than filling a petrol tank, NIO now operates more than 3,700 battery swap stations across China alone, connecting 550 cities. Every major highway route, every major city, a network that no electric vehicle manufacturer on Earth has come close to replicating. But the moment that forced the global automotive establishment to truly reckon with what Li Bin had built, the moment that made Porsche reach for its phone, came when NIO revealed the ET9. The ET9 is NIO's flagship sedan, priced at the equivalent of over $100,000. It competes directly with the Mercedes S-Class, the Porsche Panamera, and the Rolls-Royce Ghost, and it carries a set of technologies that have never appeared together in any production car in history. Begin with the suspension. The system is called Skyride. Its story begins not in China but in America, at Bose, the audio company, in the 1990s. Bose engineers spent years developing a fully active electro-hydraulic suspension unlike anything the industry had ever seen. Instead of passive springs that react to a bump after you hit it, this system anticipates the road and adjusts each wheel independently, in real time, to cancel out the disturbance before it reaches the cabin. When Bose took the concept to the major automakers, the answer was unanimous: too complicated, too heavy, not practical for production. The project was shelved. A Boston startup called Clear Motion acquired the Bose suspension division in 2017 and continued developing the technology for another 7 years. NIO, through its venture capital arm, NIO Capital, invested in Clear Motion and formed a partnership to bring the system to production. Every other car company that had been approached passed. NIO said yes. In 2025, the NIO ET9 became the first production car in history to deploy this technology at scale. What Skyride does in practice is almost impossible to believe until you see it. The system adjusts each wheel up to 60 times faster than any conventional spring. Each hydraulic pump responds to 1,000 torque adjustments per second. Reaction time: under 0.3 seconds. Fast enough to keep the car completely level, even if a tire blows out at 160 kilometers per hour. The demo that went viral across every car media platform on Earth showed an ET9 prototype approaching a series of alternating speed bumps, carrying a tower of 4 full champagne glasses stacked on the bonnet. The car crossed the bumps, not a drop spilled. Then it crossed them again, from a different angle, still nothing. A British automotive journalist drove the ET9 across the notoriously broken roads of England. Pavé sections, corrugated surfaces, long sinusoidal wave bumps, and wrote that it was the only car he had ever driven that genuinely delivers the magic carpet ride that every luxury car company promises. And none actually delivers. When he returned to his BMW to drive home, he said it felt like a different world. The suspension is only part of the story. The ET9 also carries NIO's self-developed Shenji NX9031 autonomous driving chip, the world's first 5nm automotive-grade AI chip deployed at scale. 2 of them for redundancy, each one more powerful than 4 NVIDIA drive or in processors combined. The system processes data from 31 sensors, cameras, LiDAR units, including 2 mounted at the sides, and has already been deployed in more than 150,000 NIO vehicles across the lineup. Porsche has since signed a technology licensing agreement with Clear Motion to explore the same suspension technology for its own future vehicles. McLaren is in talks. The technology that the entire Western automotive industry once looked at and said, not practical, too complicated, too heavy, NIO built it, deployed it, put it in a production car, and made it work at scale. Li Bin, the boy from Wuling village, who counted cows for his grandfather, who rebuilt a company from a 7-person team in a building with no elevator, who commuted to work with 10 yuan in his pocket, who watched his stock price collapse and read his own obituary in the international press, had built the most technologically advanced luxury sedan on Earth. The most miserable man of 2019? He's the one they're all studying now.